April is here, and if you are a coffee farmer, this is not just another month. It is a defining moment for your crop's success. Welcome back to the channel where we turn ordinary coffee farms into high-yielding and also profitable ventures. In today's video, we dive deep into the April Coffee Management Program, the practices that can make the difference between a struggling crop and a thriving one. We'll be covering on disease control, how to protect your coffee from devastating infections during the wet season, and one of the diseases that we'll be looking at is coffee berry disease. We also be looking at foliar feeding with NPK. Also, we'll be looking at insect control, weed control, and what we should do if you get April light. You set your coffee up for a powerful season ahead. So stay with me and let's grow better coffee and do it the smart way. Let's start with the first management practice, and that is control of coffee berry disease in the April month. So coffee berry disease is also known as coffee berry anthracnose, or maybe brown blight of coffee. This is a major fungal disease that primarily affects coffee, especially the SL, and it is caused by a fungus. And the disease is most severe in high altitude or maybe high humid areas. But it has spread to many parts of our country, that is Kenya, and it can cause up to 80% yield loss by attacking young green berries. Though it can also infect flowers, stalks, and occasionally leaves or ripen fruits like these ones. Therefore, it's good to know the key symptoms of the coffee berry disease. One of the symptoms that you can see from your farm is small water-soaked lesions, or maybe green berries that rapidly become dark and expand to rot and then the whole berry. So it's good to check on your coffee berries. In case you see such an occurrence, know that your berries are being affected by the CBD. So berries often drop prematurely or become mummified. That is another symptom. They become black or maybe hard and also brittle with brown pulp. So this is an indication that you have been affected by the coffee berry disease. But in this case, these berries that you can see here, they are healthy and ready for picking. Therefore, infection is favored by high humidity and rain splashes, which disperses spores from the infected berries. So you are supposed to control using chemicals, for example copper, which during this it becomes a protective spray whereby you start before flowering and continue until berries ripen. The goal of spraying Samaya copper, in my case, is to maintain a constant protective layer on berry surfaces. So fungicides are applied as protectants or maybe preventive in mixtures, whereby you do what? You manage, you do a rotation to be able to curb the resistance. So there is another way of you controlling the CBD, and is biocontrol agent, whereby you use some microbes, but in my case I've never used that, and it's good to be able to learn more at least so that you can be able to curb the coffee berry disease. Our next management practice in April is foliar application, that is spraying of NPK, and April marks the onset of longlings, which triggers the active vegetative growth, flowering and fruit set in coffee, as you can see from our videos, and also increased nutrient demand by the plant. So at this stage, as you can see the flowers, the roots alone cannot be able to supply nutrients fast enough, so foliar feeding becomes very effective. Therefore, quick nutrient absorption is also another reason as to why we use the foliar, because foliar is absorbed directly through the leaves, works almost immediately. This is a crucial in April month. Heavy rains can leach the nutrients from the soil. If at all you do it, you use granules, and roots may be waterlogged, whereby it will be able to reduce the uptake. So foliar feeding bypasses all these limitations. Another reason as to why we use foliar spray is to boost the vegetative growth, whereby nitrogen plays that role well. So nitrogen supports the development of new leaves and also shoots, and therefore it does well in formation of the strong canopy. In April, coffee trees are producing fresh growth after rains and also strong leaves, and therefore leading to better photosynthesis. More leaves, as we know, will also help in food production for the plant. Foliar spraying also will enable enhance flowering during the April, as we have seen, whereby the flowers will do well, and also there will be fruit set, whereby phosphorus does that role. Phosphorus is responsible for root development, flower initiation, and also energy transfer in the plant. Why it matters in April is that coffee begins flowering after rains, and also good phosphorus is equivalent to more fruits and also more flowers. So poor phosphorus will lead to flower drop and also low yields. Foliar spraying still in the month of April will improve berry development, whereby and it will be led by, or maybe the potassium that you have sprayed from the foliar will regulate water movement in the plant and also enhance bean filling and also improve this disease resistance. Therefore, in April, early berries begin forming, and potassium ensures uniform berry development, as you can see from our tree. Therefore, you can see uniform berry development, and they become bigger and heavier in nature. So this directly affects quality and also the market prices. As we do the foliar spraying, also it reduces nutrient loss during heavy rains, and during the long rains, nutrients applied to soil get washed away, and that is what is known as leaching. So foliar spray is not affected by leaching, and it ensures plants still get nutrients consistently. Therefore, that is one of the most important program in this month. As you can see from our farm, we have been infested by the weeds. Therefore, another program that we should also put in place is weed control. Therefore, let's look also at weed control, and we see what we should do so that at least we can make our farm better. April month comes with heavy rains, rapid weed growth, increased nutrient availability. Unfortunately, weeds grow faster than coffee, and you can see them over here. So what does the weeds do? They compete for nutrients, and which are the nutrients that we have talked about? That is nitrogen, phosphorus, and also potassium. Also, they compete for water, and also in the small coffee plants, they block sunlight, and also they harbor pests and diseases. If you apply fertilizer without maybe weed control, you are basically feeding the weeds instead of coffee. Objective of weed control in April is that it reduces competition for nutrients, improve fertilizer efficiency, enhance air circulation, reduce pest and disease and hiding spots, and also maintain a clean, manageable farm. The methods of weed control are manual weed control, whereby at times as you walk around the farm, you can just do the hard weeding. And this is the most recommended method, especially for the small farms. And how to do it is you can also slash weeds before they flower or maybe they produce the seeds. It's good also to maintain a clean basin around each coffee tree. You can see that my farm is a bit infested by the weeds. So at times you just do the leaf cut weeds or maybe do the mulching around it. What are the advantages of doing so? It is cheap, environmentally friendly or maybe environmental friendly, and it adds organic manure. So best timing at the straight or at the start of the rains, and also you do it after 3 to 4 weeks. So another method to control weeds is mulching, which is highly recommended. So in my farm, I'm trying my best to make sure that I have done mulching, and after slashing, you spread dry grass around the coffee. And the benefit for this is that you'll be able to suppress the new weed growth and conserve soil moisture and improve soil structure. This is the so-called minimum tillage, and this is a long-term weed control strategy. The other way to control weeds, which is not really recommended, is chemical weed control, or maybe use of what? Herbicides. Use only when the farm is really large and labor is limited. That is the only time you can do that. In case you will use a herbicide, spray between rows, not on coffee plants, and use a hooded sprayer if possible. And it's good to avoid windy conditions, and do not spray during the rains. So misuse can damage or maybe kill coffee plants. The special considerations during the April month is about timing, whereby timing is everything. Weed before applying foliar fertilizers, and avoid spraying herbicides when rain is expected within the 6 hours. Another special consideration for April is prevention of soil erosion, and do not leave the soil bare. Always do mulching and maintain ground cover. So in my case, I have planted butternut so that it can be able to protect the soil from the sun and also from the rains. It's also good to focus on the coffee basin, and this is where you keep the area around the stem completely weed free, and this is where nutrients uptake is highest. There are some common mistakes that farmers make, and one is allowing weeds to overgrow before control, and spraying herbicide carelessly, and leaving soil bare that really causes erosion, and ignoring weeds after fertilization. So weed control in April is not just about cleanliness, it's about protecting your nutrient, your water, your yield. If you don't control weeds, you are working for them and not for the coffee. Insect control is another April program that you should be looking at. And why insect control is critical in April is that moisture plus warmth leads to rapid pest multiplication, and new leaves and berries, which are soft and they are vulnerable to plant parts. This attracts pests such as coffee berry borer, leaf miners, aphids, thrives. If not controlled early, damage becomes severe and costly later. The objective of insect control is to protect young leaves and also shoots, and be able to prevent damage to flowers and berries, and be able to reduce spread of pest-related diseases and maintain plant vigor and yield. So one way that you can be able to identify the pest is scouting. Before spraying anything, inspect your farm at least once per week, and you'll be able to understand the signs, and also maybe be able to observe the curls. So it's good to make sure that you do the spraying. You spray the insecticide as early as possible to prevent that. And April is one of the months that you should be very vigilant, and you'll be able to have done the foundation of everything in the coffee farm. So April is the foundation month of your coffee production. What you do now determines what you harvest later. Feed your coffee through foliar nutrition, protect it from pests, control your weeds, and manage diseases early. And don't let the rains benefit the weeds and the pest. Make sure that your coffee is the biggest beneficiary. Consistency is the key. Make sure that you visit your farm, observe, and act on time. This is Githua's Coffee Farm Consultancy, empowering farmers to better yields and also better quality. See you in the next one.